Hello everyone and welcome to the festive season, Real Film Podcast.
Ho ho ho.
God, come on.
I didn't expect it. You are never that, joyous.
Because it's Christmas!
It's goddamn Christmas, man.
Goddamn Christmas. Show some goddamn respect. You're disrespecting the spirit of Christmas! This is our Christmas special season. And I'm Rob. I'm joined by Matt and Guff.
Hello.
Hello.
We've all picked a little Christmas film each, which probably are a bit sort of... Well, Matt, yours is probably... It's not like Christmas, but yours is quite a popular one. Me and Guff have picked more kind of alternative Christmas films, maybe, is the correct word. Yeah. Today, we're doing my film. This is The Night Before, starring Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Seth Rogen, Anthony Mackie. Three lads who are like in their 30s, traditionally go out Christmas Eve, get smashed, always want to go to this big party. It's their last ever Christmas together because they're all growing up, going their separate ways, and they finally get to go to their big party. I can't remember when I first saw this film. I think it's in the last like 3 years, 2 years or something. But I just love it so much. I think it's just great. It went under the radar, and I can't remember how I found it. I think maybe we bought it in like HMV or something. I think we bought it on DVD on HMV because it was like on offer, and we were in there buying Christmas presents for everyone because I go to Waterstones and HMV, and that's where I get the majority of my Christmas presents from.
Not this year.
And I'm like, I just pick up like a bunch of DVDs and books and be like, I can give these to somebody at some point. And I think this was like there,
Someone
and we
like this.
We picked it up and watched it, and we're like, oh, this is really good. How is this not...
This one is for us. This one's not going for anyone else. Yeah. We'll have this one.
How is this not...
I love the idea... Wait, Matt's got the idea that like Rob's opened a DVD, watched it, then he's like, if he didn't like it, he's just wrapping it back up. It's like, that's such a shite Christmas present. So like, I've used it. Don't want it, though. There you go.
If I could...
borderline new.
If I could get the cellophane back on, I would, to be honest. What are you guys? You've seen this before, Guff, right?
Yeah, I think I saw it about a couple of years ago. I saw it on TV. I definitely didn't see it on the cinema. In the cinema, so yeah, it flew under the radar for me a little bit. I remember seeing it advertised and whatnot, but I think I don't want to like discredit these. Well, I mean, I don't suppose I'll go out my way to watch Christmas films anyway, normally, especially in the cinema. But like, I sort of saw this as maybe just another really, just I don't know, like just sort of like really corny popcorn flick. Like it wouldn't be too funny or anything like that. It's just maybe, even though like I love everyone in it, I don't know. I got the vibe from the trailer that it was probably just a bit. It's similar to like what we said about Game Night actually, where I thought Game Night was going to be a lot more sort of run of the mill, but it ended up being like a really good film. And like really clever and really well written and funny and stuff. And the same applies to this, where it was a film that, yeah, I just think it's really well written. It's really sweet. It's got comedy in the right places. It's got that great mix of like cringe comedy that doesn't go too cringe, because like I can't stand films that just really push the boat on cringe, and I wasn't. I know that some people love that, and I mean I love horror films, so I love that sort of visceral you get when you watch something normally, but with films like that I'm like, oh, don't be too cringe. I can't be arsed watching it otherwise. But it really toes the line really well of like really emotional stuff. Like it never goes too heavy, but obviously like you touched upon the fact that, you know, it's about the three lads, but like the reason they start doing it is like really heavy, because I don't know if you're gonna mention it, but like
go full spoilers.
Yeah. But like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's family pass away. Like they're clearly lifelong friends. They meet each other in high school, and but like when they were about 18, 19 or whatever, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's parents both die in a car accident, and on like that first Christmas without them, Seth Rogen and Anthony Mackie are both his best mates. They sort of decide to start a new Christmas tradition. Well, they go out to cheer him up, and then it starts a new Christmas tradition with them for the next 14 years. And then, yeah, along the way they hear of this like magical Christmas party and stuff. But like obviously because of that, it has like sort of moments where, and it never touches too heavily on it. There's like one particular scene where it goes into it a bit more, like a flashback, but it like toes the line really well, and like it never becomes too cheesy. It never becomes too emotional. It never. Yeah, no, it never quite. It just balances everything really well. I think I really enjoy it.
And Matt, you just watched this like yesterday?
Yeah, I watched it yesterday for the first time. I don't really know why I've not seen it. I remember like when it came out, just being like, "That's a cool cast." Like, I can't really remember ever seeing anything about it or like the trailer or anything, but being like, "Oh, it's a good little cast of people there." And it's kind of when Joseph Gordon-Levitt was still actually doing acting stuff, not just his online hit record, whatever that thing is that he's still doing. Although he was in the trial of the Chicago 6 recently, I suppose. But apart from that, he seems to like stop doing anything, considering he used to be in loads of stuff all around. Like, what year was this?
I suppose he's like a CEO now, though, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he was at like around this time. He was kind of in everything.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't ever go and watch it, because I probably would have worked at the cinema at that time as well. So I'm not sure why I didn't go and watch it, but.
Probably Christmas. You were like, I don't want to stay anymore in this building than I have
need
to
get out of here. But yeah, I really, really like enjoyed it. It's nice to have a kind of a Christmas film that isn't just kind of overly sentimental and like has the right kind of amount of sentiment to it. But at the same time, it doesn't really need to be a Christmas film. I know there's the kind of stuff with. Michael Shannon and him kind of being like a bit of a
and when he turns up and you have no idea he's in it.
Yeah,
I don't think I even watched the trailer. I don't know if he was in the trailers or the promo for this, but I hope he wasn't, because I remember when I watched it and it's like these three guys and then he's just in the car. It's just
like drug dealer.
It's amazing. He's so funny.
So well.
Yeah,
it's really funny. Yeah,
I think like apart from him being like, oh yeah, the whole riff on the Christmas present, Christmas past kind of. All that sort of stuff. Like, it doesn't necessarily need to be a Christmas film. Like, it could be kind of like set at any time. Like, oh yeah, every year we do this thing to take his mind off his, the fact he's got no mum and dad sort of thing. But it's just nice to have it like as a backdrop for Christmas, because there's just a lot of like funny gags that kind of come out of it being Christmas, and then you have that kind of element of Michael Shannon's Bob Marley. Is it Bob Marley that comes to Scrooge? I can't think what he's called now. The guy who comes and says you're going to get visited by 3 ghosts or whatever it is, but you kind of have that element in there as well, which
it's not Bob Marley.
Bob Marley.
I know it's the Marley brothers or one of the Marley.
I was like Weed, Bob Marley. I see the connection.
Yeah.
But...
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I never thought of that.
One
actually,
of them
yeah, that's probably it. I never actually. That's a really good connection. Actually, I didn't realise that. It probably is that reason.
Scrooge. What's he?
That's amazing. I never made that connection before.
I need to find out
what it's called now.
That must be deliberate.
Let's find out.
Talk
about something else while I figure this out.
I love the fact that it's like there are people, like, not to get too. You saying it doesn't have to be at Christmas. Like, a lot of Christmas films are about people going home to their like parents. Like, a lot if they're based on sort of people our age, they're always like going home to their parents. Everyone's like getting together as a family, and it's really nice to see one about someone who doesn't have that immediate family like still there.
Yeah,
I think it's generally
it's the new definition of family, isn't it? Like,
exactly,
the chosen family sort of thing.
I just think that's a really interesting and nice take on it, that Christmas isn't just for people with a full functioning family that are all together all the time and everyone's really happy. Or, it's not just about people being passive aggressive and shouting about, what the potatoes are like. It's actually like, this is pretty kind of high stakes for a Christmas film. Like, and he's clearly going through like genuinely a really bad time, which I just find kind of really interesting. I find that Christmas films generally just there to make people feel really good and have just zero stakes, and let's make everyone feel really happy, and there's going to be a small falling out and it's all going to be fine and Christmas is saved at the end. But this feels a lot more kind of real and authentic to me, and probably a lot more representative of a lot of people's Christmases. Like I'm the age of the people probably they're supposed to be in this. Like, we used to go out every Christmas Eve with like Hat's friends in Lichfield pretty much, but like people have kids, people don't live there anymore, and like it does just peter out. Like, you just don't have those nights out for Christmas Eve anymore, because everyone's like, well, I've got to drive up somewhere tomorrow morning, all this sort of stuff. It's quite nice to have something that's actually aimed at like our age group and us, something that we can actually relate to, and not just this is a family film for everyone, which has its place, it's fine, but I quite like that it's something that I can actually relate to.
We don't need another one, do we?
Exactly.
That's the thing. Like, I think I agree with you. Like, I think it's a lot more representative of like, you know, I mean, I'm quite a traditionalist. I'm someone who likes the same things at Christmas because they help me almost get into Christmas spirit, I suppose. Like, it feels like Christmas because of the things I do at Christmas, and like that's like, you know, having Christmas at my house and, you know, going to see my friends, and like we normally do stuff on Christmas Eve and like go out and things like that. So it's like, yeah, like I'm someone who quite likes traditions, but yeah, I suppose it is that thing where I mean, I'm already seeing it now, like with friends, like well, even just like jobs, like working, like sometimes can get in the way of Christmas and stuff like that. So
yeah.
I'm not choking up. I've got a sore throat. So.
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm getting emotional.
Just cut that out, Robin. Editing crying noises.
No, yeah, I feel the same way. I think it's like really representative of like, just like, yeah, our generation, because it's like other things, like, you know, not just that people don't have parents, but that people either can't afford to go see the parents, or they don't live with the parents, they live far away from the parents.
Well, particularly this year, with people probably not able to get anywhere.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Although you can't go out either, so
you can't go out for a massive piss up.
Massive bender. Nope.
But yeah, no, I did like going sort of slightly tangenting back to what you were saying about like again the backdrop of Christmas. I think like using all the Christmas motifs obviously really added it, because I think there's a lot of films that sort of tackle this subject, like Friends, and there's been a few films like comedies about like people growing up and things like that, and like moving on and sort of letting go of like stuff in the past and whatnot. I mean, to think of one like The World's End, is it?
Yeah,
the one, the
Simon Pegg one,
Cornetto one. Yeah, it's like that's a very similar sort of story in the grand scheme of things, about someone not being able to let go of something and holding on to the youth with the friends and stuff. So like that's obviously been tackled. I think it's nice to see it in the backdrop of Christmas.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I know that's not. I know you weren't saying you hate it because it's Christmas, but I mean, like, I think it's interesting that it is the backdrop of Christmas. But I noticed the second time watching it how many more like Christmas films they obviously adapted. Like, obviously we've got Christmas Carol, and like I can't remember that. I should have listed them, but I remember noticing a few motifs from others. But I even noticed at like the very end, it's like I think it's the last one. And it's not needed, but I'd like to think that maybe they're like, oh, what Christmas films can we throw in? Because they mentioned like Die Hard and The Grinch and things like that with that character who robs the weed.
Yeah.
Who's also great. But like they just throw in a Home Alone reference, because like there's the bit where Seth Rogen's wife goes into labour and he just turns to the camera and puts his hands on his cheek in shock, like, and it's what Kevin does, and it's like, I mean, I suppose she does throw the micro machine.
I was going to say the little
as well.
toy
Like,
slips on.
Yeah, she mentioned Sticky Bandits, but I do quite like that they just threw in all these different Christmas films into one. But they're not like on the nose. I mean, obviously the Christmas Carol one is obviously part of the story, but again, the fact that it's through weed is quite. He's like,
it is very
this
funny.
is the weed of Christmas past.
It's very
like,
very on brand
staff
for
of
Seth
life.
Rogen, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I was kind of like, when are the drugs going to show up? And then his wife literally gives him that big box of drugs, and I was like, yes.
It's almost
Here
like
are the
it's almost like
drugs.
a very self-aware joke, that, isn't it? It's like, all my films, I am a druggie. Here's all my drugs in a box. This is going to be a plot point.
Yeah, and I think like they just goes horribly wrong for him as well. And it's
I love the fact that it's like
oh, it's so like the whole bit of like him in the church just being like,
I've literally written down church scene is like one of my favourite bits of this.
It's like the bit where he's just like
Christ.
looking at the baby, like, stop looking at me. And he's like hissing. She's like, stop hissing at the baby. And he's just,
The baby goes, fuck you.
yeah.
And then he's like, we didn't do that. We didn't do that.
Yeah, he's like, who's that guy? And she's like, it's Jesus. And he's like, Jesus Christ. And then,
Yeah, but I love him. I love as well at the end where like the guy, the football player they call the Messiah, is like pierced on the tree, and he just goes, "It's happened again."
yeah.
It's so good.
Just to pop back to Scrooge for a moment, it's Jacob Marley, but I was getting I was mixing it up with Bob Cratchit, so that's where Bob Marley came from. So.
And Bob Marley.
And Bob Marley, yeah.
Did you also forget who Bob Marley was for a moment?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
I kind of thought you were making like, I thought like Michael Shannon made a Bob Marley reference. Me and Guff were both looking like, does he mean Bob Marley? Like,
No, it didn't even twig with me. I was just like,
But again, it's not far from.
no, we
from this
stumbled
film's
on something.
subject.
I was going to bring up like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's relationship with his girlfriend, who like he kind of broke up with. I think it's a really nice like depiction of a reasonable adult relationship, which is not like dramatized in any way. It feels again, I say this quite a lot. It feels authentic. Like they've broken up before the film because he doesn't want to commit, which obviously his parents died. He's probably still hung up on that. And then obviously there's a great bit where he sort of proposes to her
That's such
via Miley Cyrus, and it's such
because Miley Cyrus is the one that eggs him on.
Yeah, it's so good. Funny. She's like, I'm really drunk, just like walks off and does it.
Yeah, when she says like, what do I call you, Miley? And he's like, no, Hannah's fine.
Yeah,
it's like a Hannah Montana reference.
It's like he keeps calling her Miley Cyrus, and she's like, stop calling me Miley Cyrus. She's like, what should I call you? And he's like, Hannah, and he's like, what? No, I'm just messing with you.
I do love that. It's such a
she's
been.
I just love like the grand gesture. Like in any other film, she'd say yes, and they'd all be really happy. And you think that's kind of what happened. It's like, no, of course I'm not good. We've been broken up for like how long? This is fucking stupid.
But I tell you what, I really rate the way they handled it as well, because like again, it could have been really corny, really cheesy, and she say yes, and it would have lost something from the film, obviously, because that's not what the tone of that film is. But yes, so many films do that where it just makes no sense for them to say yes. But then also it would say no, and then it's like really dramatic.
Yeah, that's what I said.
But like the fact that like she just was like yeah, and it's like the amount of times like we've probably seen viral videos of people proposing in grand gestures, and someone's like been like yes, and then probably gone home and being like maybe not actually, because like that was weird. Like,
you don't even fucking like Disney princesses, you prick. Don't want to be here. It was my dream when I was 15. You've not spoken to me for 10 years. Like,
why on earth would I want a fucking stormtrooper to propose to me, you clown? I hate Star Wars. A depiction of my future. No, no, but that's what I mean. It's like I like how she's not like someone who's a vicious character, and like they've not made her the villain, and they've not. She's like, I'm not going to try and embarrass you, and like you put pressure on me. It's like it feels like a more realistic way of approaching it, while some films would go one way or the other, and it's like she's like, of course I'm not going to fucking marry you. We've been together for 2-3 months.
Yeah.
Like.
I
think she's great in this, yeah.
Yeah, she's really good. I really like the way that their relationship is very mutual. Like, he's not chasing her. She's also interested in him. Because guess what? Women are also interested in men. And, like, there's this weird thing in, like, media where it's always men have to pursue women and wear them down to go out with them. It's a really, like, I think it's a really genuinely quite damaging thing to tell young men that women aren't interested in relationships, and you have to, like, earn something from them. You have to, like, pester them until they're ready to go out with you, which is, is harassment. And I really like that this shows, like, it kind of shows it in quite a healthy way that they're obviously interested in each other.
It's just not worked out.
And she's not, it's just not worked out. She's not pretending she doesn't like him or anything like that. I quite think it's quite a healthy look at it.
Yeah, also, on the back of that, like, in films like this where maybe, like, there's, like, a down-and-out loser type who doesn't earn the respect of the girl, it's usually, maybe commitment isn't the thing sometimes. Maybe it's because they are just maybe like not getting a job or things like that. Like his job's brought up a few times in this, like the fact that he's like a struggling musician and he's not really putting himself out there and things like that.
His concept album that he's conceptualizing. It's a good joke.
It's really good. But yeah, like Big's the other film as well, because obviously the keyboard bit, I just remembered it just popped in my head. But no, yeah, so it's like they usually have it where like the woman moves on like immediately, and like it has been on maybe a few months, and that's also fine, but like it's normally for someone like super successful, and it can often, I've like noticed it where it often seems like either the woman's like become really vapid, like they've depicted a female character as like she only wants someone who like has money and got the shit together, and it's like, but also it makes them seem like, well, did you ever really like the person if you've moved on like so quickly and things like that? And that seems to be the plot around that. And but in this, like you say, it's about, she's like, I still liked you. It's just you had your own shit that was getting in our relationship. Yeah. Like that's a lot more realistic a depiction, because that's why relationships often break up, is someone has maybe like an issue they can't resolve with themselves. Like, I think it's a much
it's very rare that people break up in a massive screaming kind of argument, especially like long-term stuff. They generally just kind of get to a point where it's like, oh yeah, like you're not willing to compromise on that, and I'm not willing to compromise on that, so probably
it's just petering out, isn't
exactly,
it? Yeah, like, and that's what obviously this film's about, is that he's sort of so stuck in the past, I suppose. It's like everything sort of just moves on without him. And I think but again, it's not in like a big screaming, explosive way. It's just in a really, like you said, it just sort of peters out, Rob, and it's like, that's life, that's what happens. So I think it's a lot, I really like the way they did that.
It's also like, I think it's quite nice that they don't, like a lot of times again in media, people are valued on like what job they do. It's like why are you not putting value on who the person is and what their values are, rather than just saying you've not got a job right now, so you're just worthless and you're not worth anything. I quite like that it's not like that either.
Yeah, like the only people who seem to judge him in this, like, because like Anthony Mackie doesn't judge him for obviously that. He judges him more on the fact that he's like, you haven't, it's almost like that thing of,
he's
he
not
is
happy.
a good friend.
He's judging him because he's not happy in his shitty job.
It's like,
that's why.
Yeah, it's like you are working jobs you don't like, and you're not putting yourself out there in the thing that you love, and it's getting you nowhere. You're letting yourself be stuck in the past.
It's because he's not trying, isn't it? Like if he was trying, I think, and
Yeah.
still had a job that he didn't like, he'd probably be a lot more forgiving of him. Whereas,
Yeah, absolutely.
because he's
But
not
it's
making
like Ray
effort.
Park. Is it? Oh no, Randall Park. Sorry, where it's like
Yes.
Ray Park, very different person. But like Randall Park, where it's like he's obviously a bit of an asshole in this, where he's like the boss at the very beginning. But it's like all the people that sort of judge him for his job again are assholes. Like it's those two Santas. But I also, sorry, that's a joke I also do really love when he's like fucking Jax, and he's like, I'm an orthopedic surgeon. Yeah. I teach 3rd grade. I'm shaping America's youth, bitch.
I do love that bit with is it Jason Mantzoukas?
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas. I don't know who the other guy is, but yeah,
that's a great bit. I just love that. It's just a great like turnaround, just being like.
But I love, like, when, like, at first, yeah, like, you go, like, oh, I suppose they are a bit douchey, but, like, they are obviously just pissing about in a Santa suit, and they're just, like, pissing in an alleyway because they're on a bender.
Yeah.
And then, like, when he's, like, walking away, and they're just like, I'm a fucking surgeon, and I'm a teacher. Yeah. Like, you do sort of go, like, oh, yeah, he's really taken an awful lot out of context, and he's clearly very...
Exactly.
But I do love how that guy's just, like, this feels like it's on something else. It's like, it really highlights
it's
that.
It's like...
It's about this!
Yeah, obviously not, like pissed up, but I've seen my dad, like, wee behind a wall before, and he's, like, a respected member of society. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you kind of think, oh, yeah, they're a kind of person. You go, well, you think about it actually in real life, you go, like, well, yeah, I'd probably go for a wee behind a wall, like if I was really desperate. Like, and I'm not a like degenerate or anything, so I like it that it is this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like Joseph Gordon-Levitt just completely instigates that whole confrontation. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, you kind of think, oh, they're a bit like jockey and douchey, aren't they? And it's like, well, no, actually, he kind of went up there and just kind of like started this whole thing with them. And yeah, they probably had a few beers, and so it was. Because one of the he's like, just leave him. He's like, no, he sucker punched me, man, and then just like decks him.
That's what I mean. It's like you actually walk away from it going, I don't think they're dicks. No. I think Joseph Gordon-Levitt's the dick, because he's like just these random guys just attacked him on their night out. Like I was thinking, like, I mean, yeah, I've been on nights out in fancy dress before, and I've pissed on a wall in the past when I've needed to. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like it is that thing where it's like, but again, because they were like bad mouthing Christmas and because like because they were like pissing on like public property. I think in the past, in like previous films, you would go like, oh, these guys are a bit like scummy, like the bad mouthing and it's like a trope, innit, where it's like, oh, the bad mouthing and the pissing on property and stuff like that. And it's like, actually, it's not as bad as you make it out, is it really? And it's like, it's definitely jumping to a conclusion. I mean, it's like he says, like, just poo in the suit, doesn't it? It's like that. It's like he's over here. It's like, let's do a deuce in the suit. It's like, oh, okay. But then I was like, I love how that escalates so fast. But I just before I don't know if it's another thing to move on to, but going back to the church bit, I fucking love all Seth Rogen's trips, man. Like when he's talking to the fucking like shepherd. Outside the church.
What does he call him? What's his name?
Spencer.
Spencer, yeah.
Spencer, and he's like, he's got a family, they're interracial, and he's like, can I pet your dogs? And they're both the sheep.
And he's like, oh my god, your dog's talking. And he's like, all dogs talk.
Yes, I love it. It's so funny.
My favourite bit of that is when he finds his wife. And then, like, she's like, fuck off. Yeah. I love how, like, their relationship as well just feels really authentic to me. She's just like, just fuck. But the bit where, like, her family then meet him, and he's still holding the staff, and she's like, put it down, and he just puts it down the stairs and just like falls down. I don't know what it is about it, which is so funny.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, like, I really like her character as well, because do you know when he does the video? Like, obviously, that video is so funny. So for anyone who it's like, fuck you, cunt. I'm gonna put you in a fucking basket. But yeah, it's like, so basically, like, for anyone who's again might be listening to this and has no idea what it is, but yeah, Seth Rogen's expecting his wife is expecting a baby very soon, and like he's been like the one who's so normal. And she's been the one stressing out, but he's like, this is where he's like tripping absolute balls in a bathroom after doing like coke and shrooms, and he's like that his wife gives him, which is funny. But like, yeah, he starts to lose it, and like he records a video of him for his future self, just being like, "Fuck you, fuck this baby. You're not ready to be a dad. This baby's gonna ruin your life." Like, it's just this. It's obviously this breakdown, but I do love when like. I thought when I first saw that, it's like, oh, he's going to have accidentally FaceTimed his wife. It's going to cause this whole thing with his wife. That's going to be another element. And it's going to be like, you know, because you see a lot of films do that where it's like just this borderline unnecessary conflict in a film. And it's like, because the conflict is about, you know, well, it's all about their friendship, so it should stay that way. But it's like sometimes films just try and throw other shit in that distract from the main story. But I was like really like, oh, it's going to be to his wife. It's going to accidentally send it to her or something. But like the fact that it ends up just being that he's really embarrassed about this video. But then she's like really fine with it. Like she's like, that's really funny. That's like, you just called our baby a cunt. Yeah. Like it's like, that's really funny.
Yeah, I just like the fact that like, as you kind of said there, like it's not a point of drama within the thing. Like in other things, it would be like, oh my god, my husband is about to be the father of my child is going around the city on drugs. Like maybe I need to rethink who I'm with. Like she 100% knows who he is and she loves him for it. And like, I mean, obviously she's the one that gives him all the drugs, so she couldn't like say anything about him being drugged up. But like, it's just nice that it's never like an argument, even when he like vomits in the church and runs off. Like it's not a thing of her going, I don't know, I gave you those drugs, but like you were totally irresponsible and you embarrassed me. It's just kind of like that was a pretty funny thing, wasn't it? Like, yeah,
she's probably like, I mean, it's my fault, I suppose.
It's pretty good banter.
But I think again, that's like a lot more realistic because, like, I know especially in America, especially with like weed and stuff, because a few states have obviously legalized it. I know, like, especially with like drug taking recreationally, it's obviously like for a lot of people, it's not as big a deal, and obviously films have in the past been used as like vehicles to sort of sway the youth and people away from stuff like that. But then I think there is like a whole generation of people who've just been like, we've done drugs, like we have, like it's fine, we don't necessarily do it, like we're still functioning adults, we still have jobs. Doesn't mean we're like going to work high or things like that. And like, and I mean, Seth Rogen is he's a fucking Hollywood star, film star, and he's probably high as fuck every single day. So probably, there you go. Like you see people like that all the time in like media, and people do well who've done stuff like that. So I think it's like that, where it's like it's almost like breaking a stigma a little bit, which I like, because I think not necessarily because I'm like, you know, I've got to say I've never done Class A's. I don't know the experience. However,
after this, it really puts you off, doesn't it? To be fair, actually, I'm like,
it definitely puts you off it.
Anything close to what
it's actually the best of both worlds, because it's like it normalizes it, but also goes, yeah, don't fucking do it. Like it's like it's normal if you have, but don't. Like, do not do it, because your wife will turn into a dragon. But yeah, I think it's just, again, like this film really balances like realism really well. Considering some of the mad shit it puts in.
Considering Michael Shannon grows wings at the end and flies off, it is quite...
It balances it pretty well. There was something else I wanted to say about like the wife, I think, like the relationship, but... I just wanted to talk about James Franco.
I've read just James Franco on my... Is he playing himself, I assume, right?
He is, yeah. I do love that, though. Because I love his inner monologue when he's like seeing the pictures. I think he wishes it's his. Like after the description they give it, they're like, I mean, that's fucking. But like, I love how he's just like, he's like internalizing it, like he's just messaging. I love it so much. Where he's just like, when he's having the talk with is her name Sarah? I forget her real name. Really. Is it Mindy something? Yeah, like when they're talking, she's like, "Do you think I can handle it?" And he's like, I mean, yeah, I think you could. I think if you really buckled down and gave it a go. Like, it's like, well, I love that whole thing. And then like that little bromance they have, and the bit where she's like, I think you might be gay, and he's like, I'm not gay tonight, and she's like, okay. Yeah. That whole thing with it. But again, it's like that whole sort of, it is very Seth Rogen. It's like, where's James Franco? Where is James?
Yeah. Oh, here he is.
Where's he gonna pop up?
And him and Seth Rogen are gonna have sex. It's like,
yeah. So it's so funny, man. But I love that bit where he's like, "Are you gay?" And he's like, "No." But he's like, "Are you curious? Isn't everybody?"
Yeah. Well,
so
I like that because he like isn't, but he's just because he's so high. It's just like, yeah, I suppose deep down, yeah, I'm curious. Like,
yeah,
It's like, what, the bit was like, I want you to touch the guys at camp.
yeah,
he's like, "Why did I tell him that? You didn't have to say that." It's got some brilliant jokes. Like it's a really, really good film. I think really good Christmas comedy. This.
Yeah, we've spoken quite a lot about Seth Rogen and Justin Gordon-Levitt's characters, but like Anthony Mackie's character has like a really good story in this as well. Like he's obviously such an arsehole at the start. He's found fame, and he's just a bit of a prick generally. But he goes on a really good arc as well. Like obviously he's using steroids to cheat, and they're all obviously they can see right through it because they're his best mates, and they're like, yeah, you're 33 and you've just had the season of your lifetime. Like that never happens.
Yeah.
You should be on the way down right now. And like they're the bit where they're both talking about it, I think quite early on, they're both like, yeah, come on, we know what's happened here. And then like the bit where obviously it comes out, and I just love the way he just kind of is like, yeah, I'm gonna come clean about it. I'm not getting this park. I love there's a bit where his mum as well. He's getting a park named after him, and his mum's making a big deal. And he's like, "Oh, it's full of crackheads." And his mum's like, "No, it's going to be a great community park." And then, like at the end, where he's obviously come out as using steroids and stuff, he's like, "I guess we're going to have to give the park back." And she's like, "It's full of crackheads."
Yeah, it's
such a great.
I love that.
His mum's so good.
Yeah, but again, like I think that's the thing where I also really appreciate that because, like, I know not to like do a weird commentary on sports and stuff, but there is like an awful lot of like doping. And like, especially like based on like certain things that have come out over a few years, like there's so many athletes who actually do that. And like, again, I think it's one of those things where traditionally media people have been like, it's the fucking worst thing in the world that you're like taking steroids, and it's still cheating, yeah. But like the bit where he's like, everyone's on steroids, but it is supposed, but then it still affects that character because he's like, I wanted to do it honestly, and I haven't done it honestly. So it's like, it's still a more real view of like drug use in sports than just being like, because like when you see it in like sports like films or things like that, it's like, I can't believe you're doing this, no one did this. It's like it's probably a lot more common in the industry than anyone chooses to admit. Like it's probably like not it's probably the worst kept secret in sports for a lot of things, like but like especially like you hear about it in bodybuilding where a lot of bodybuilders are like, everyone's doing it, like that's it.
There was a video that like I think it's probably Unilad or one of these shite websites on Facebook. They put like, this guy was being bullied as a teenager, and then he spent 2 years, and he's like in incredible shape and stuff. And like, this is how he did it. And the video's like what he eats and his workouts and stuff. And then all the comments are just on his YouTube channel because steroids aren't illegal necessarily. Everyone's just been like, yeah, in his YouTube videos, he just openly admits to doing steroids. Like, he does steroids.
Yeah.
And everyone underneath were like, yeah, it's steroids. He said he uses steroids. Like, why are we pretending you can get in this shape just by eating well and exercising? It's it's incredibly hard.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's like this like veil people put over it when like everyone in the industry often knows that it's being used. But again, I like that thing where it's like we don't condone it, and like the character feels shame for it, and like he doesn't like doing that, but we're also not going to pretend that no one else is doing it. Like, I kind of rate that a little bit. Like, again, it's only a subtle thing, but it's there. But yeah, like about Anthony Mackie though, it's like he is like such a dick in this, and it is a shame because it's like obviously like I know like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's going through his own shit, but it is that thing where it's like you have agreed this is his last night, and you're making it all about your ego and impressing your friends and stuff like that. And but obviously it's nice that he has the turnaround and sort of realizes that he loves his mates more than he loves his ego and stuff like that. But again, like I didn't think of it until you really said it, but I suppose he's sort of competing with his age a little bit, but in his own way, because like obviously they've said like they say on the train, on the subways, like most people your age are retiring from sports, like you've just had the best game of your life, the best season of your life, and it's like he's probably like and he says like these guys have never spoke to me before, so he's obviously competing with almost like the high school shit, and like it parallels to what they were saying when he was like, oh well, you were a jock, why did you hang around with us back in high school? And he's like, oh well, he never really explicitly says it, but he's like, I never would have got that school, gone through school without you. So it probably shows that he was never really the jock type, but he was into sports. Again, which is a really better rounded view of things. Like, I think we touched upon it a little bit in like Cabin in the Woods, surprisingly, where it's like, you can like sport and also be smart and like not an arsehole, which a lot of films don't do.
I was in like pretty much every sports team at school. And just like the people.
And you're a nerd.
Exactly. And I have a PhD, so, But yeah, I was
That's
like,
it.
I didn't want to hang out with a lot of the people who plays football. Because
yeah, I was the same,
I just
yeah.
like, I didn't really like them. So
Well, that's it. It's like, but that's the only depiction they get. But like, I suppose that's like the nice thing in this film. Again, it's like every character feels really 3-dimensional. Like even just through little bits of dialogue here and there. Like it doesn't, like, you know what I mean? Like that bit when they're playing N64 when they're trying to keep quiet.
I love that bit
like,
so much. It's just
yeah, it's so nice.
so nostalgic.
And it's a really great bit of exposition that doesn't feel like exposition. Like it gives a bit of backstory, and it's clearly the most sort of exposition-y bit of the film. But it does just feel like mates in a room reminiscing. Like it does just feel like a load of friends talking about, you know, how they met and, you know, reminiscing about the past, and especially friends who probably don't see each other that much anymore. Like you probably would talk more about how you met and stuff. Like I think it's really sweet, and like again, like with Anthony Mackie, especially when he's like, you know, that tiny little line of him just being like, I wouldn't have got through it without yous. You don't really need it, and you don't really need like a whole explanation. Like that is a just amount, like just good enough to sort of explain who he is, maybe a little bit. But yeah, like he really is clinging on to the past, but in a way different to obviously Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think it's really interesting, like, because, and I don't know if you could say the same about Seth Rogen, because he seems like more, well, I suppose he's afraid of the future, like in terms of, you know, scared to be a dad and scared to almost be a grown up and stuff like that. So, but it's interesting because they're all dealing with it just in their own way, but obviously the focus is on Joseph Gordon-Levitt. But I like how they add that in still. It's not just these two friends going like, your life's shit, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, we need to pull you out of it. It's like they have their, and like, I mean, they say it at the end when they're on the park bench. It's like, it's hard to be a friend when you're older because everyone's got their own shit going on, and it's like, and it's true.
I suppose that thing as well is like, they kind of going like, oh, we need to end this tradition because we've got our own lives going on, and they kind of treating him like he's the one holding everything back. But then it is just kind of like by the end, everyone's kind of like, yeah, do you know what, we've all got like stuff going on. Stuff's going to change, but it doesn't mean that the change is going to be bad. It's just going to have to be different now, but not necessarily in a bad way, sort of thing.
Yeah, well, you see the end, don't you? They've sort of made their own tradition of they're all together on Christmas still, and she's just different Christmas.
Singing Run DMC
to the baby,
yeah.
I think we said this is genuinely like I think it's my favourite Christmas film. It's probably not the best Christmas film that I've watched, but there's something about it that I just really, really love.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, same.
And I watch it every year.
Yeah, it makes. Once. I think I'm going to make it a bit of a, funnily enough, a bit of a tradition. Try and watch every year because it does feel like, or every other year, like it feels like. Again, yeah, because I like going out for a drink with some friends on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it's like a lot of people do it this year. In like this generation, like I think a lot of people do it, and it's like it feels rather than like.
I was going to say not many people are doing it this year. So.
Well, not many people do it this year, but yeah, it feels really honest.
Next year's going to be fucking huge.
Oh man,
vaccines everywhere.
We're gonna have vaccine fountain in the back instead of a champagne fountain. Everyone under the vaccine fountain, like
inject it into my veins. Yeah, that's the point.
That's where you want it.
Yeah.
People doing like shisha pipes in bars and stuff, and it's like, what is it? Oxygen, yeah.
That'll do on it. So yeah, that was the night before. We'll be back with a couple more episodes of some more Christmas films.
Yeah.
We're everywhere on social media. We're on Twitch, for our YouTube site. We'll put it all in the chat below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.